Hey, how's it going, you guys? It's petplatypus here. Why is the video in black and white? Well, I was editing some previous videos, like, that last JoJo episode, or maybe it was the last Yu Yu Hakusho episode I did, I'm not sure. And, I was playing around with the filters. I wasn't going to actually do anything, but I was kind of bored, so I was playing around with the filters, and I was like, I'm going to make a video in black and white. Why not? My next video, I'm going to do it in black and white. And that was a great coincidence, because it turns out I'm going to be doing not a review, but a manga recommendation. You probably already figured it out, but black and white, we're recommending a manga, there you go. So, yes, and the manga I'm recommending is Kongou Banchou. Now let me give you the setup for this. I really like the Seven Deadly Sins, Natsu no Taizai. Most people probably heard of it. It was a fairly popular anime this recent season. And I decided to read the manga to the Seven Deadly Sins because the anime, while very good and I enjoyed it very much, it felt kind of rushed, and I knew it was skipping things, because what I like to do, because it's really a pet peeve of mine when a manga deviates, or an anime deviates from a manga. It can still work and I can still enjoy it, but it's still kind of a pet peeve of mine, and what I did was I would look at a few chapters, not spoiling myself, but just I would kind of look at a few chapters to kind of see if the manga and the anime kind of coincide, and I was like, wait a minute, I've never seen this before. And that happened a couple of times when I was looking at the manga, and I was like, I don't think this anime is covering everything that the manga has. And considering I already thought the anime was kind of rushed, I just decided to read the manga. And I was kind of looking into the author's previous works. I was like, has this author done anything else? Because I really do enjoy the Seven Deadly Sins quite a bit. And they did a series called Kongou Banchou, and I looked up some pictures, and I was like, okay, this looks extremely badass. Let's check this out. And I think it was around chapter 14, or when a certain Banchou shows up, and I'll go into more detail later without spoiling too much, where I was like, yes, this series is extremely badass. I'm now 46 chapters in. There's 114 chapters. I don't know if this series was canceled, or if it ran till completion. I'm not really sure. So, fair warning, I don't know if the series has a proper ending. I'm assuming it does, but I have no idea. So, yes, 114 chapters, and it's fucking awesome. And I haven't read all those chapters, obviously. Like I said, I'm 46 chapters in. But it's not the most philosophical series. There's not like these heartfelt, deep backstories or these crazy, like, oh my god, I'm questioning, blah, blah. No, none of that. None of that shit. Just pure, badass, fucking Banchou action. A Banchou, apparently, if I'm to trust the translation I'm reading, is basically a Kuwabara kind of character from Yu Yu Hakusho. Like a delinquent high schooler, but he'll like stand up for the weak, kind of a man's man type of character, but it can be a girl too. That's a Banchou. And there's 23 of them. The top Banchous in all the 23 districts of Japan are going to have this big battle, like this big turf war, and the last one standing on top gains control of Japan. And it's fucking weird. Like, it's a really fucking weird setup, but it's a good setup in terms of having a bunch of cool fights. And like I said, it's not the most deep or philosophical series. It has its basic setup, 23 dudes, or chicks, no discrimination. Oh, my phone has a low battery. Anyways, no discrimination, chicks too are going to have a big battle, so you're going to, see a lot of fights between these different Banchou. That's the setup. But unlike something like Stardust Crusaders, which has its setup, go kill Dio to save Holly, Jotaro's mom, this actually has plot reveals and things unravel and there's twists and new characters get introduced and there's way more to it despite its very simple setup, unlike something like Stardust Crusaders. I'm not totally shitting on Stardust Crusaders, I like it a lot, it's just this has more story and more plot twists and more characterization than well, I guess I shouldn't say characterization. Characterization's pretty good in Stardust Crusaders. Character development, on the other hand, aside from Polnareff, not so much, but you know what I mean. But yeah, the series has badass art, badass fights. Kongou Banchou is just fucking awesome. I love this kind of character. He's so fucking cool. Oh, so many quotes. I don't want to quote anything out of context because then I'd have to explain the situation and I don't want to spoil it. But yeah, problems with the series. He doesn't have too much trouble in any of his fights. In a recent chapter I read, he had severe fucking trouble with a fight with one guy, but other than that fight that happened recently, for 46 chapters, he pretty much destroys most of his opponents. But it's still really entertaining, and it still looks really, really cool. and a couple of them have unique ways of being fought, which is something I'm going to mention in a little bit. Kind of a, not a super big spoiler, but just kind of the point where I think you can like make or break the series for you. That's kind of confusing, but I'll explain. So yeah, I don't want to go into too many more of the main characters, because if I talk about them, again, I'm trying to be kind of vague because I don't want to spoil anything for the series. I just want to say that it's badass, it's epic. But yeah, like I said, problems, just to kind of finish that off. He does win most of his fights fairly easily. He hasn't been too challenged in 40 chapters, so that's a little bit weak. But it's still really entertaining, like I said. And you see other characters fight too besides him. The other thing that's kind of a negative is there's just weird people. Like, there's giant people, people who have these weird physical anomalies, but they're taken to, like, the ridiculous extreme. Like, this one character who has, like, this weird muscle thing where your muscles are, like, basically what it ends up being is your muscles are just way, way, way stronger than a normal person's muscles. So even without actually working out or training, you can lift and throw insanely heavy objects with little effort. And I'm pretty sure that's not real, or if it is real, it's being highly, highly exaggerated. But it has its own, you know, fake science to kind of explain things, and there are giant characters. Like, Kongou Banchou himself is just hilarious because he's enormous, and you see him sitting in, like, the classroom with the tiny desk and the tiny chair, and he's just fucking huge. Or he's sitting at a little diner with a little plate of pudding with a spoon that looks like a fucking toothpick in his hand. I mean, I don't want to exaggerate too much. He's not, like, ridiculously big. Only other negative I can think of that isn't, like, a huge negative at all, there's kind of an art style thing where the proportions are weird. Like, he'll throw a punch at somebody, and his entire hand will look like it's fucking larger than they are. And he's not that big at all. It's just kind of a weird proportion problem, I guess, with the art style. I don't think it's a problem. I think the author means for it to look like that. But it throws you off when you first see it. It's just fair warning. But yeah, I'm loving the series so far. I think it's got that great over the top, I can't believe that just happened kind of flair to it, you know, like the Seven Deadly Sins or something like Toriko, where there's a guy he fights and he's like, your attack has like 9.9 tons of impact power. It's like, holy shit. I love that kind of shit. I love that overhyped, overpowered type stuff. And I guess this series does not feel like Seven Deadly Sins at all. It really does feel like it's the same artist with a different writer. But the one thing, it is the same writer, I'm fairly certain. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the same writer. The series feel very different, but the comedy is still really great in both Seven Deadly Sins and Kongou Banchou. But it's very different kinds of humor, and there's not as much fan service in Kongou Banchou, and it's just very different. But it's still great, and I think this author takes a liking to main characters that are extremely OP, because that's the case in Seven Deadly Sins and this series. But it's awesome. It's so cool. There's this one guy, oh my god. There's this one dude he takes out, and it's like the best fucking thing I've ever, like, it's like so cool. This dude is like a pretty boy, and he's talking about beauty and shit, and it's just the fucking best. Oh my god, I can't even. I don't know when that happens, maybe around like 14 or so. When you get to a guy who's a cowardly Banchou, that guy, when he shows up, finish that little arc and see if you're digging the series. Because that was the point in the series where I said, okay, I'm liking it, it's cool, it's a little bit weird, these giant guys, it makes no sense why some characters are just fucking enormous. But once I got to that point, and I read that little story arc with that cowardly Banchou, that was the point where I was like, yes, great series, loving it. So, yeah, that's my recommendation, Kongou Banchou. I think you guys should really, I really think you guys should check it out. I think it's really good. Like I said, again, not super philosophical or insane or super dramatic, but it's simple, but it has enough story to keep you interested. It's badass, it's fun, it's funny, the comedy it's a great sense of humor. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say without spoiling too much. So, yeah. Thanks for watching this video. If you guys check out Kongou Banchou, tell me what you guys think of it in the comments below. Hope you guys do. Follow me on Instagram, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.